What is good, YouTube? Welcome back to another Dragon Traveler video, and today we actually got teased about what the next character is going to be on the limited banner after Jing's banner ends, which is going to be in about 8 days. Now, Jing's banner, if you guys didn't know, she's a very good character, right? Insane single target DPS for both green teams, very OP for the wild team, and also very strong for the otherworldly team. I actually did end up pulling her. As you can see, I'm rushing through my dailies because there's like 30 minutes until reset and I haven't been doing my dailies all day, so we are rushing. But Jing, really good character, right? I use her in my otherworldly team. She does insane single target DPS. You could see that I just need to get more fodder and I will be able to get her to Diamond. I do have enough dupes to get her to Diamond anyways, but I am resonancing her. But at Diamond, she is insanely strong, right? This Phantom Blade Pursuit level 7 passive gives her extra physical defense penetration. This is what makes her insanely good. So if you guys are using Jing and finding that she's not that strong, getting her to Diamond will make her a lot stronger. And also what you really want is a lot of crit gear, right? So you do want to stack a lot of crit because of how her passive works. This will make it so that her crit rate will go down, but her damage will go up, which is very important. So enough about Jing though. I kind of wanted to mention it because the next banner that is being teased, you might actually want to skip that banner and dump more resources into Jing, because the next character that is pretty much 100% guaranteed, and we'll talk about why, is going to be Zagris. Now, there is a very small chance that it's not Zagris, but the reason why people are expecting it to be Zagris right now, and I actually saved my coupon code to show you, is if we go to the redeem code and we type in Zagris like this, and press confirm, you'll see that we are getting rewards. The code is active, and this has been the case for a ton of different banners that were teased, and every single time it has been the character to come out next. So Zagris does have an extremely high chance to be running on the next banner, and she's going to be a part of the Elemental Echo and Arcane Wisdom faction. Now, she is going to be an assassin, and I think the first thing people are going to think about is, oh, she's just a strict upgrade to Fenrir, which is kind of the case and kind of not the case, which we'll talk about. Because she does fit both of those same factions as her, and she fits the same class, that's what people will probably expect. But here we're using DT Wiki, and you're going to see that what they recommend, and this is what I think most people recommend, is only using her in the Elemental Echo team, because in the Arcane Wisdom team, she's not as good. She's heavily reliant, if we look at her kit, on using her elemental reactions. She applies a lot of it. And the late game Red Dragon team really just wants to proc a ton of these reactions to win the fights, right? So she's going to be used in that end game Elemental Echo team. Now, in terms of if she's better than Fenrir, I would say if you're in the early to mid game and you don't plan to play the Elemental Echo team late game, then you probably don't want to use Zagris. You probably just want to use Fenrir here, because she's insanely broken in the early game. She does fall off when you can't actually kill people with like your overdrive, because if you kill an enemy, right, it does like a reset effect and also extra damage in a circle, and she gets crit, right, which is really good. But the thing is, you know, if you don't get those kills, in fact, if you ever miss like an execute with her overdrive, she kind of just sits there and dies. So it's pretty annoying, but she's really strong if you can actually abuse this, because yeah, she just is able to reset and completely win you fights. But later on, when you fight more geared players, and even against like the teams that have a lot of defensive capabilities, such as the Wild Spirit team, the Otherworldly team, even the Arcane Wisdom team that can increase the cost of your overdrives, which is really annoying, you can actually get completely shut down. And when you fight against better team comps, that can actually CC her. So because of that, she's not going to be a super strong late game character, and that is going to be where Zagris will fit the bill. So she is going to be that late game replacement. Now, the thing is, you have to think about if you plan to play the Elemental Echo team. The Elemental Echo team is going to be one of the hardest to build teams in the late game. In the early game, it's not as bad because, you know, you have Ifrit, you're most likely going to have Poseidon, you can also use Oberon, you can use Siegfried as well. So you have 4 characters that aren't really free to play, but are pretty much free to play. You'll get them eventually. You can also use Fenrir, right, as one of your 5th characters. And then the 6th slot, you have a lot of options, right? With Vivian, you can use even Azure Dragon, you can use Anubis, you can use Lorelin, right, for another DPS. So the free-to-play team for the red team, it's very easy to build, which is why everyone starts with it. But later on, it will be a lot harder to build, right? You will have to replace your team with a lot of characters, ones that haven't even released yet. So it's going to make it so that later on, you're not going to even use Ifrit anymore. You're going to see, even in this recommended guide for the team building, that there's a ton of characters that haven't released. Like, yeah, you can see the only one that's released so far is Poseidon, which is pretty funny, right? So this is pretty hard to build. You're also going to need 3 SSRXs. You'll see a high tier 3 mythic team, which is the SSRXs. So if you're not planning to spend a lot, then the Elemental Echo team actually becomes a bait. You do not want to build this team because otherwise you're just not going to compete, right? You do need to have a lot of dupes of the SSRXs to actually compete with the Elemental Echo team in the late game, not in the early to mid game. You're fine running whatever. But compared to other teams, such as like what I mentioned before, the Otherworldly team, you know, you don't really need a lot of those SSRXs, if any at all, because of the fact that, you know, I guess Loki and Hades are here, but those two are replaceable, especially Hades. So you don't really need too many. You don't need 3, right? That's the main point. So it makes it so that the red team does become a pretty big bait outside of the early game. Now, in terms of what she does, though, she's really strong, right? So if you do actually plan to use her, she has a lot of CC. You're going to see that the biggest thing is she has freeze, right? And the thing with freeze is it's just a crowd control, right? And you're just going to apply this to whatever targets. She's an assassin, so you can actually have her go into the back line. And you'll also see with her red 1-star, whenever an ally triggers elemental reaction, the cost of her elemental skills go down by 1. And this can actually trigger every 2 seconds. So very strong. And what her overdrive actually ends up being is it's going to be like a huge AoE blink, like attack, like a blizzard. And you'll also see that you can apply chill, which is very strong, right? You not only reduce healing, but this is what will apply those elemental reactions, which is what that red team is all about. And yeah, she just has a lot of CC with her other abilities as well. So pretty strong character that way. Once you get her to diamond, right, the freeze is 6 seconds, by the way, super strong. But yeah, not a character you definitely need. I would say most people are probably going to skip this unless they have a plan to play that red team in the late game. And even then, you don't absolutely need her. Yes, she's very good. You will want her for that red dragon late game team, but there's a lot of other options you can use with that red team as well. So it's not the end of the world if you don't have her, right? You can use a ton of different types of characters, right? You could possibly, you know, slot her out for something like a Vivian if you really want it, or Laurelin. They're still okay, although she's really good. So it's really up to you. So that's what I recommend in terms of Zagris. I think most people, including myself, are not going to be pulling for her. It's a good time to skip because we've had a lot of back-to-back banners. But, you know, if you're not pulling for her, it really begs the question, should you go hard for Jing, right? I think if you are planning to play a team comp with her, like I mentioned earlier, you really want her at Diamond. Like, this character is so much stronger. If you're finding that your Jing isn't doing that much damage, this will make her do a lot. Mine's already doing okay damage, and that's mostly because I'm stacking her on crit, which is also very important. But once I get this level 7, once I get more fodder, this character is going to absolutely pop off. She's one of the best free-to-play DPSs in the game alongside Ifrit, of course, in different teams. But that is pretty much it for today's video, though, guys. Thank you for watching. Let me know down below if you guys are pulling for Zagris or not, and I will see you guys next video.